Shavua Tov, Israel briefers from all around the world, and welcome to another week of the Israel Brief with me, Rolene Marks, right here in boiling hot Israel. Yes, I am in Modi'in, the city of the Maccabees, right between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, and it is summer in Israel, which means it is hot. You might hear a little droning noise in the background. That is my desk fan. I figured I can't broadcast from the fridge, so the desk fan will have to do. I'm in my office, which is also my bomb shelter, and while things are very, very, very quiet, it doesn't have an aircon, so doing the best I can. Anywho, useless information over. As always, the Israel Brief is brought to you in partnership with these guys, Lay of the Land. More about where you can find us later. And if you want your news hot off the press and right on your device or your desktop from Israel, look no further than the Israel Brief. And a reminder, it is day 633 since the 7th of October. Since that darkest day in Israel's history, the biggest atrocity committed against the Jewish people since the Holocaust, where over 1,200 people were murdered, mutilated, and raped, and 50 still remain hostage. A reminder to everybody that we will not stop until every single one of them is home. We want them all released, achshav, immediately. So let's take a look at those top stories making headlines and who is going to be the next to make peace with Israel. All indications are pointing towards Syria. Now, Syria and Israel have technically been at war for decades, and with the fall of the Assad regime and the new regime in place, it looks like this could possibly be a reality. Now, over the weekend, we heard from both President Trump, as well as the special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, saying that more countries want to join the Abraham Accords, the historic Abraham Accords. And of course, we in Israel and our brothers and sisters in Iran are hoping for the Cyrus Accords, which would come with the fall of the IRGC, or the current Iranian regime. So according to some reports, and they're coming from a lot of different places, a lot of the indications are pointing towards Syria. Now, we know that there are back channel conversations happening at the moment, and here are some of the little tidbits of information and topics of discussion that have been leaked through various press. So the number one issue is the Golan Heights is not on the table. Now, I find this very interesting because many in the international community do not recognize the Golan Heights, an area of strategic security advantage in Israel that is under Israeli sovereignty. A lot of countries do not recognize that. But as of now, Syria is not asking for Israeli withdrawal from the Golan Heights, which is a departure from all previous talks. A phased deal under review. So this would see Syrian proposals focus on military arrangements, and this would see the halting of Israeli airstrikes and withdrawing from areas Israel entered after Assad's fall. Now, it's interesting to see if this would include the buffer zone, which is on the Syrian side of the Golan Heights, which Israel rushed to establish very quickly after the fall of Assad. Recognition and guarantees. Damascus wants Israel to recognize President Ahmad al-Shara's government and is seeking long-term US backing and security guarantees. Now, this is an interesting one for Israel because al-Shara is formerly Al-Qaeda. He was a member of Al-Qaeda. And can one truly reform as a terrorist? Israel and Israelis are very skeptical about that, but let's see how the negotiations proceed. And according to American Rabbi Avraham Cooper, who has met with al-Shara, he is willing to meet Prime Minister Netanyahu face to face if President Trump arranges it. So very exciting. We are going to be looking there, and my guess, and this is just my opinion, if Syria has to join the Abraham Accords, I would wager bet we see them followed shortly by Lebanon, and that is almost a complete transformation of the Middle East. I had to think of the word there, guys, but it's hot, my brain has melted. What is interesting is that we don't have anything about Palestinians or Palestinian states mentioned in these negotiations. Interesting, right? We now turn to Iran, where President Trump has said that he is not offering Iran anything. He went on to say that the nuclear facilities had been obliterated, he says, like a knife through butter. In fact, he specifically said, Fordo has been obliterated like a knife through butter. Now, this follows comments from the Ayatollah al-Khamenei last week, where he was claiming victory and glory, and President Trump, in a way that only President Trump can do, basically retorted back with, you got your face slapped, you got your tochas, your behind kicked, so calm down. You got a big hiding, so calm down the rhetoric. But Mr. President, we know you speak Arabic, but do you speak Farsi? And Khamenei will do whatever he can to save face, but we can all see for ourselves that his regime took a resounding smack. Meanwhile, President Trump has also appealed to Prime Minister Netanyahu to make a deal in Gaza, and the Prime Minister has responded with, this is what we want. We want our hostages back. That has to be the priority. Now, families of the hostages have appealed to President Trump to get directly involved for a negotiation that would see the release of the hostages. Britain's Supreme Court has ruled that it is legal to transfer spare parts for F-35 fighter jets. Now, this follows a petition that some launched at the Supreme Court, calling into question how those spare parts would be used. Now, according to the British Defence Ministry, they have said that the transfer of these parts are important for international security, and also if they weren't transferred, it could undermine the work of NATO as well as Britain's standing with the United States. So a good decision by the UK Supreme Court. And finally, in what used to be a music festival that everybody could enjoy, Glastonbury, which is held, I think it's annually, on a dairy farm in the United Kingdom, where the ticket prices are absolutely exorbitant, and the very privileged celeb squad that attend often arrive by helicopters. Well, yesterday, Glastonbury featured two acts. One was what can only be described as a cretin by the name of Bob Dylan, ironically named after Bob Dylan, who, by the way, is Jewish and wrote a song called Neighborhood Bully about how the countries in the Middle East bully the small Jewish state. Well, he took to the stage, and amongst the vile rhetoric that he spoke against the United Kingdom, he also chanted, "Death, death to the IDF, and from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." This is blatant hate speech. He also went on to say that sometimes you have to solve things through violence. So this is an incitement of violence against not only our soldiers, but against Jews. This is a call for a genocide against the Jewish people. And before people say, well, but he's talking about the IDF, so how can he possibly be talking about Jews or Israelis? Well, a reminder that all Israelis serve in the IDF. From the age of 18, you are conscripted to the IDF. So that effectively is calling for the extermination, the genocide of our people. And as we know, the chant "from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free" calls for the extermination of the world's only Jewish state. Well, this has resulted in massive backlash and disgust across the board in the United Kingdom, across the various government representatives and members of the public. Now, the broadcast regulator Ofcom have expressed their concern that this was live streamed, and let's see if they launch an investigation. And the BBC released a statement a short while ago. I'm going to read you their statement. The BBC live streamed this, and as far as I'm concerned, the BBC should face punitive charges for allowing hate speech to be broadcast, especially since they keep getting everything wrong with regards to Israel and the war with Gaza, that they are effectively the mouthpiece for Hamas. In fact, Bob Villan was followed by an Irish group called NECAP, who were under investigation for chanting "Up Hamas, Up Hezbollah," and calling for the killing of members of parliament. But I'll read to you from the BBC statement. Millions of people tuned in to enjoy Glastonbury this weekend across the BBC's output, but one performance within our live stream included comments that were deeply offensive. The BBC respects freedom of expression but stands firmly against incitement to violence. The anti-Semitic sentiments expressed by Bob Villan were utterly unacceptable and have no place on our airwaves. We welcome Glastonbury's condemnation of the performance. The performance was part of a live stream of the Westholt stage on BBC iPlayer. The judgment on Saturday to issue a warning on screen while streaming online was in line with our editorial guidelines. In addition, we took the decision not to make the performance available on demand. The team were dealing with a live situation, but with hindsight, we should have pulled the stream during the performance. We regret this did not happen. In light of this weekend, we will look at our guidance around live events so we can be sure teams are clear on when it is acceptable to keep output on air. No, I don't buy this. I also don't buy the statement hours later from the organizer of Glastonbury saying that she was appalled. Let's get this straight. You were warned for weeks about acts like NECAP and Bob Villan, and you still chose to platform them. The BBC, we are sick of your apologies. We are sick of your apologies. You take absolutely no accountability, and you broadcast stuff which is so repugnant, so disgusting, and have to apologize afterwards. Get your damn act together. And as for all the Phoebes and the Tarquins and the Pandoras who all attended the Glastonbury Festival, make no mistake, the last time there was a music festival and young people went to revel and dance, it was the Nova Festival, where 378 young people dancing for peace were murdered, brutally slaughtered in the most horrific ways, and many of them gang raped. Given half a second, Hamas would do the same to you. Well, now I'm off my soapbox and I'll take the audience question, which comes from Steve in Johannesburg, who asks, Rolene, is it now safe to come to Israel? It is absolutely safe. We haven't had rockets and alerts. It is perfectly safe. In fact, we need you guys. We need the tourists. So if you are thinking of going on vacation, come and visit us in Israel. Come and see for yourself about the glorious country that we keep speaking about. The airlines are resuming. We ask you to be a part of that. So that's it from me for today, soapbox included. But guys, don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our YouTube channel is right here at the Israel Brief. Please click on that red subscribe button. Let's get Israel's story out to as many people as possible. We are on Meta at Lottle Site, on LinkedIn at Rolene Marks, on Instagram at Rolene_Marks, and on X at Lay of the Land 5. Guys, that's it from me for today. God bless you all, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.